Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Jurgen Klopp dispels Michael Edwards rumors. Explains Darwin Núñez decision. Jurgen Klopp has explained how Liverpool came to sign Darwin Núñez, while dispelling rumors that the relationship between him and Michael Edwards broke down. During his time at Liverpool, Klopp gradually assumed more powers as manager and ultimately left with no real sporting director in place. An added responsibility that took its toll on the German. Edwards, who is now back as CEO of football for FSG, left his post as sporting director in 2021 before his promoted successor, Julian Ward, also departed in 2023. There were rumors that this had been down to Klopp assuming more power in the transfer department, having previously been part of a very collaborative approach to the market. The former Liverpool boss has now shed some light on this, saying that he has a really good relationship with Edwards. Speaking on the Diary of a CEO podcast, Klopp commented, "Michael Edwards is absolutely great in what he is doing, but it was not in one day his job alone to bring in players. There were a lot of others. Julian Ward, Ian Graham, so many people that were involved, Barry Hunter, all these kind of things were involved in these kind of things. It was a process. We were really close together. It's not someone sitting there and being the genius and you think, oh my God, he is available, I didn't know him. It's not. We know football players. Negotiating, finding the right moment to sell, finding the right moment to buy. That's the sporting director's job. What he, Edwards, was before." Asked directly if he always got on with Edwards, Klopp replied, "Yeah, I would say 100%, and Michael definitely." Jurgen Klopp was more than just the manager. Upon Ward's exit, Liverpool appointed Jörg Schmadtke as the new sporting director. Though he was only in place for 2 windows and seemed to be a temporary fix to take some of the burden off Klopp. "It was all my responsibility for all the time because, yes, I don't decide money, but all the rest of it was in my hands from a specific moment on," Klopp said when speaking about the period following Ward's departure. "There was a time there was no Richard Hughes, no Michael, no Julian Ward. There was just me sitting there. On top of all the things, we had to win football games, but all the rest was on my plate. It was an intense time. COVID changed a lot. I mean, people didn't fly as much anymore. The owners didn't come that often over. It was like budget calls were on the phone, more or less. We brought in Jörg Schmadtke, the German sporting director, because we didn't have a sporting director at that time, in fact. Julian came back, but I don't even know exactly why he left again. But these kind of things, they just happened. And the only guys who were always there were we, the coaches and the football team." Asked who was doing the sporting director stuff, Klopp replied, "Us, and together in that one window with Jörg Schmadtke, the lawyers, the scouts." Jurgen Klopp explains. Darwin Núñez transfer decision. The transfer that is often brought up when noting how Klopp assumed a wider role is Darwin Núñez's move to Liverpool. He joined from Benfica for up to $85.36 million in 2023, but never hit the heights such a transfer fee would necessitate, scoring 40 goals in 143 appearances for the Reds. Despite reports suggesting other figures at the club would have preferred to sign Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad or Christopher Nkunku from RB Leipzig. Klopp claimed, "We decided it exactly like before. We decided it all together in that process. And yes, that's how it is nowadays. We would have loved to sign him for less money, of course, but it was in that moment not possible. In that moment, we needed a striker. We wanted to have an extra option, like we had Bobby Firmino always for the best false 9 in the world, and now we needed somebody with a bit more speed and stuff like this. We had to change as well. So we had Luis Diaz, great. Cody Gakpo, great. What kind of player don't we have? I thought Cody can play a little bit like Bobby. Good footballer all the time, but feels much better on the wing, all these kind of things. So yeah, of course, we all signed him together. No problem to admit that it maybe didn't work out as good as it could. But without Darwin Núñez, so many things wouldn't have happened. While it probably was the case that the Núñez deal was done after discussion, the Uruguayan's name may not have even been in the hat under the previous structure. the greater responsibility, assumed by Klopp, was ultimately part of why his energy ran out and he decided to leave in 2024. It is also part of the reason why Arne Slot has the official title of head coach rather than manager, a first in Liverpool's history. Liverpool injury latest and possible return dates including Ryan Gravenberch. Liverpool will assess Ryan Gravenberch after the Dutch midfielder limped off with a twisted ankle against Manchester United this weekend, with trips to Eintracht Frankfurt and Brentford to come later this week. Gravenberch was replaced by Curtis Jones with around a third of the game remaining. Cody Gakpo leveled the score shortly after, but Ruben Amorim's team earned a victory thanks to Harry Maguire's header past Georgi Mamardashvili. I took him off because he twisted his ankle. Is he an injury concern? That's what we have to wait and see tomorrow, Slot explained in his post-match press conference at Anfield. We have to play in 2 days again because again we have to play 3 games in 7 days, like we had to do after the last international break. There is not a lot of time for players to recover, but the good thing is we have more than one good midfielder. Mamardashvili was playing because Alisson Becker remains out with a hamstring issue. There has been no exact timeline placed on his return to action yet. Alisson was substituted during the Champions League defeat against Galatasaray. He is not training with us, so he is out, Slot said on Friday. Like I always say, it's so difficult to say because the end phase of rehab can always give you positives or negatives, but he will not play on the weekend and also not next week. Wataru Endo, who dropped out of playing for Japan with a minor issue that he picked up against Chelsea, was also absent against Manchester United. There has been no clarity yet on how long he might be out for, though the 32-year-old would be unlikely to feature much beyond a few minutes here and there off the bench anyway. The only other injury for Liverpool at the moment is a long-term one. Giovanni Leone, the Italian teenager, has undergone ACL surgery for the issue that he sustained in the League Cup win over Southampton. Do we lose confidence? I cannot see it yet because every single game we've lost, we were able to create in the second half an unbelievable amount of chances, Slot said on the defeat to Manchester United. If you look back at all 3 games we've lost in the Premier League, if you just put all the highlights next to each other, you would say it's hardly possible that they lose this game. So if we can keep producing what we are doing and do a few things a little bit better, then there is every reason to expect that we start to win football games again. But I cannot promise you that on Wednesday evening we are again able to create 8, 9, or 10 open chances. I hope so. And with the players we have, then it will lead in the end to us scoring more goals. Mohamed Salah agreement reached after Jamie Carragher called to drop Liverpool star. It hasn't been the start to the season that either Liverpool or Mohamed Salah would have been expecting. This time last year, the Egyptian had just scored his 7th goal of the campaign in the Reds' 2-1 win over Chelsea at Anfield, but on Sunday he was dragged off the pitch as Liverpool trailed by the same scoreline to Manchester United. This time around, Salah has scored just 3 goals by October 20th, with one of those a penalty deep in stoppage time at Burnley. His display in Sunday's defeat to United has led to many, including Jamie Carragher, to call for the forward to be dropped for Wednesday's Champions League trip to Frankfurt. But should that be the case, here's what we think. Paul Gorst. The collective groan as Mohamed Salah placed wide of the near post at the Kop end on Sunday afternoon was one of the loudest of the Liverpool season so far. With the Reds chasing parity following Brian Mbeumo's opener after 62 seconds, Salah spurned a glorious opportunity to make it 1-1, which was in keeping with how his general season has gone so far. It's been that kind of season for the Egyptians so far. Just 2 goals this term and only 1 in open play, which came in the dying embers against Bournemouth on the opening night over 2 months ago. The restructuring of the front line this summer has led to some teething problems, and Liverpool aren't getting their most potent goal scorer in positions where he can be most effective. Too often, the Reds' leading marksman of the Premier League era is finding himself marooned out wide and unable to impact things. A partnership with Alexander Isak will take time to develop, and with the additions of Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike in the summer, it's clear there is a long-term plan to move beyond the Salah era at Anfield. And after such an underwhelming start to the campaign, does Arne Slot give himself a brief look at what the future might look like without Salah? Jeremy Frimpong started the last Champions League tie at Galatasaray as the Egyptian sat on the bench, and while that experiment yielded few results, might this be an opportunity for Federico Chiesa on Wednesday night? The prospect of dropping Salah was one that was put to Jamie Carragher on Sunday, with the legendary former center-back saying, "I think we're at that stage now where Mo Salah shouldn't be a guaranteed starter every week." I do think this is a real conundrum for the manager going forward. I don't think Salah should be like a Virgil van Dijk where it's like first name on the team sheet. Liverpool have got 2 away games, in the Champions League at Frankfurt, and then they go to Brentford. I don't think Salah should start both of those games simultaneously, giving Salah a breather while also making the point that underperformance will lead to a spell. Out the time might end up proving to be a powerful combination for Slot as he searches for a change in fortunes. Mark Jones, is it Frankfurt or bust for Arne Slot? We're not quite there yet, but the midweek trip to Germany is looming large as one of the most important games of the Dutchman's Reds' reign now. 4 successive defeats simply can't be tolerated at the Premier League champions, and Slot has to change things for Wednesday night, including dropping Mo Salah. It just isn't happening for the Egyptian right now, and there's a real lack of dynamism and threat coming from Liverpool's 3rd highest goal scorer of all time. It isn't a terminal thing, and he surely will be back resembling the Salah that we all know eventually, but I'd drop him to the bench in Germany just as Slot did for the trip to Galatasaray. That didn't exactly go to plan, of course, but things can't carry on the way they are. The temptation would be start Federico Chiesa on the right in place of Salah. But I can see Slot leaning on the players who are used to the environment at a Bundesliga club for this one, meaning Jeremy Frimpong starts on the right as he did in Turkey, with Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike also in the side. Could that be the alteration to shock this Liverpool team into action? Against a Frankfurt side who have conceded 18 goals in 5 games, it just might be. Gary Neville faces backlash over behavior during Man Ut win-over. Liverpool Gary Neville faced criticism for his behavior on co-commentary on Sunday as he audibly celebrated Harry Maguire's winning goal at Anfield. Cody Gakpo equalized for the Reds in the 78th minute after Brian Mbeumo had opened the scoring just 62 seconds after the game kicked off. From that point, it seemed that Liverpool was the most likely team to go on and win the game. But Manchester United restored its lead 6 minutes later through a Harry Maguire header. INWA main commentator Peter Drury was flanked in the commentary box by former Liverpool player Jamie Carragher, as well as ex-United captain Neville. Neville could not contain his excitement upon Maguire's goal, screaming, "Oh, yes! Get in!" Understandably, Neville's reaction prompted angry reactions from a number of Liverpool fans, with one saying on social media, "Canceling my Sky tomorrow? No way am I giving them money for having Gary Neville audibly celebrating a goal against the team I support." Another wrote, "Could Gary Neville be any more partisan? You could hear him celebrating from off the mic, embarrassing that man." Meanwhile, Arne Slot gave his assessment of why Liverpool lost the game in his post-game press conference. "The result," Slot responded when he was asked what went wrong for Liverpool against United. "And the fact that we went 1-0 down so early, if you play United, with so many quality players they have, and brought in a few new ones this summer, and if they come to us in a low block, playing so many long balls, then the last thing you would want is going 1-0 down, because that gives them even more belief. If you would have told me we are 1-0 down against a United team that played in the style they did, and you would have told me that we would create 8, 9, 10 open chances, then I would have said to you that I don't think that is possible. But it was possible. So, the second thing that went wrong is that from all the chances we got, we only scored 1 goal. I have said it in Holland many times, and maybe I've said it here as well. It's almost impossible to win a big game of football. And Liverpool v United is a big game with so many quality players on the pitch to win it with a negative set piece. Balance. We conceded another one, and that led to us losing the game. Liverpool told Alexander, "Isak doesn't deserve to start ahead of Backup. Liverpool's record signing Alexander Isak hasn't done enough to justify starting for the Reds ahead of Hugo Ekitike, according to former England star Wayne Rooney. Isak has yet to score in the Premier League since his deadline day move from Newcastle, whereas Ekitike has 3 in the league already, the first arriving on his debut in the competition. Isak started against Manchester United on Sunday, playing the first 70 minutes. Ekitike came on for the final half hour of the 2-1 defeat, with the pair sharing a pitch for a limited amount of time, and Liverpool got their goal after Isak's replacement, Federico Chiesa, set up Cody Gakpo. The Sweden star had a limited pre-season and didn't feature in any matches for Newcastle before his 125-meter move to Liverpool. Rooney has suggested he still hasn't got up to speed, in part due to that lack of preparation ahead of the new season. I wouldn't play Isak. He hasn't looked ready since coming from Newcastle, Rooney said on the Wayne Rooney Show. He hasn't trained, hasn't had a pre-season. It's so important. While Newcastle were training, he was probably sat at home on the phone to his agent for 6 hours a day trying to get a move. It's so difficult when you don't have a pre-season. He might have done stuff by himself, but he's paying the price of it. On performances, he doesn't deserve to be playing ahead of Ekitike. Liverpool sat top of the Premier League table after 5 wins from 5, but are now 4 points adrift of league leaders Arsenal. Their latest defeat against United was their 3rd in a row domestically and their 4th in all competitions after a Champions League reverse at Galatasaray. Arne Slot's team are back in European action on Wednesday, traveling to Germany to face Eintracht Frankfurt. The Dutch manager will need to decide whether to keep faith with Isak or hand Ekitike a start. Of course, there are concerns. If you lose 4 times in a row, you have to have concerns. But we know if we keep bringing these types of performances, then we will have a fair chance of winning more football games, Slot told Match of the Day after the latest defeat. If we do a few things better, then we will have an even better chance. But you are never 100% sure if in the next game you are again able to create 8, 9, 10 open chances. Again, these players played so long being 1-0 behind and fought to come back. If we have that mentality, then there is a lot of positivity to bring into the upcoming games. Losing 4 times in a row definitely does something to a team. Thank you for watching. Like and comment. Subscribe.